Hi, this is Curtis Everitt from Saint Studios Films, and today I wanted to talk about a new project that I have coming up. It's called the Dr. S Trilogy. Now, many of you might say, oh, well, he's already made that movie. Well, this has just been a project that I've been very passionate about for a long time. Dr. Strange Matter was actually the first screenplay that I wrote that was feature length. I wrote it in 2004 and, revised it for many years after that. I even wrote sequel screenplays, and so the sequel screenplays, the original titles are Return from Oblivion and then The Hunt for Good and Evil. And so in 2010, I did a novella version of the story called Dangerous Turn of Events, which I released. It's available through Amazon. And then in 2016, I did a follow up sequel book, and it was actually both parts 2 and 3 were in that book. And it's a longer book, and that book is actually called Dr. Strange Matter. And then in 2018, I did a feature film version of it as a part of the 12 films in 12 months. And I was really pleased with what we could accomplish, in with the film, with the version that we did in the 12 films in 12 months. We had to use a lot of green screen, which was a technology I was still learning about. But I felt like, the fact that we had very little budget, I think we came back with something pretty entertaining. And the one thing about it, though, is I love this project. This is just, I feel like this is my Star Wars. This is my Lord of the Rings. This is something that hopefully people will remember, when they think about me. Hopefully, this project will be what is synonymous to what they think about. But anyway, I just kind of wanted to go through the different inspirations. So how did I get the idea originally for this story, and where did these characters come from? So in 2004, I remember my sister, she rented The Matrix Revolutions, and she rented it for me, and I think on VHS. It was still a thing back then. That might have been DVD, but anyway, my sister rented me the third Matrix movie, and I watched it. And there's a shootout scene in there when they're in a club, and one of the characters, he has a gas mask on. And I said, man, that guy looks really cool. And for me, that was the hero that I wanted to see a movie about, was, that guy in a gas mask. And what's his story? And so then from there, I started to build a world, and some of the different inspirations. I'm obviously very into comic books. And so, I watched a lot of Superman, and I've always thought Lois Lane was a great character. And so, I wanted to do my version of that character, and that's where Jane came from. She's a female reporter who's very intrepid, and she'll throw herself right into the mouth of danger. And so, as for the villains, I've always thought Professor X, from X-Men, I always thought it would be really scary if he was a villain. I know they've had various stories in the X-Men series where he kind of an antagonist. They kind of turn him against other mutants in X-Men 2. And so I kind of took that idea and ran with it, and that's where Doctor Strange Matter came from. As he's the evil version of Professor X. As for the Creeper character, this is a character, I wanted the henchman that just was unforgettable. And I used to have this CD. It was a radio play of The Shadow, which is a character I really enjoyed. I enjoyed the Alec Baldwin movie rendition they did, but I also had, this radio play, and the villain in that radio play was called the Creeper. And I was just like, that is such a cool name, and we just need to, he needs to be this guy who's just absolutely pasty faced, and just very hard to look at, hard to be around. And I just really thought that would be an interesting character. Some other fun things about the Dr. S universe is I wrote all sorts of interconnected movies. And so one of the characters that is in the Doctor Strange Matter movie that is also, I've also written other movies and screenplays about, is called Terrell. And he is a gangster. And so, he's appeared in 2, 3, 4 other one of my scripts. I have a whole box in my office just filled with screenplays that I hand wrote in high school. And obviously, back in high school, I didn't know very much about dialogue and that kind of stuff. I just was trying to write to get the experience. But some of the ideas I had aren't the worst. So a lot of these projects, sometimes I'm going back to what I thought up in high school, and then I'm expanding upon it and making it better. So, what is different between the new Dr. S trilogy that we are starting principal photography on this weekend? So, what is different about this one is I sat down and I said, I really want to make something that is geared towards my strengths. And so, the films that I like to make are horror thriller. And I've been watching a lot of films with my bestie, kind of giving me some ideas about, we've watched a few films about home invasion and captivity and that kind of stuff. And so I wanted to do the Strange Matter trilogy because I wanted to do the Strange Matter trilogy because when I did the 2018 film, we really just got started. We didn't do the whole film. We didn't do the whole film series. And so we just did part one. But one thing I found about the storyline when I revisited it recently about part one is it's a really big story. And so rather than looking at what I had already written for parts 2 and 3 for this new trilogy, I took the storyline from the original movie and I kind of slowed it down, took it slower, focused more on the characters. What are the characters doing? How are the characters feeling? We actually take time to stop and breathe. The 2018 version is just real chop, real action-packed, and it just goes really fast. And I thought it would be refreshing to do, a whole series of movies out of that storyline. There's elements from the original screenplays for parts 2 and 3 that have made their way into this new series that we're working on. And another thing that I thought was clever is I was trying to think of how can I, do the same material and have a different title, but you will know that it's the same series. And so we're doing 3 films. And so the 3 films, they're only going to have 1-letter titles. So the first film is called D, the second film is called R, and the third film is called S. And so, I think that'll be pretty unique because I don't know too many movies that, just have 1-letter titles. But what's going to be cool about it is when you put these films side by side, the titles and such, it's going to spell Dr. S. So that's going to be pretty interesting and unique. And so the first film, D, is going to be really a claustrophobic film about home invasion. And we're going to, originally when I set out to write it, I said, I want to write it to where it's only set at my house, it just takes place all over the house. But then I thought about it further and I thought to challenge myself, and I said, why don't we just, instead of the whole house, why don't we just set it in basically one room? So the majority of the movie takes place in one room. And then the second film, R, that is going to be set in the majority of it is going to be in one location. And so it'll be, exploring a whole house. But then the third film, S, we'll film that in the woods. We're going to film that at a later date when it's cooler in September. But I'm been setting up different film days with different performers who are in the movie. But this weekend we have a really big film day planned and I'm hoping it goes well. I've been doing this for 20 years, but even so, when it gets close to time to film, I still get a little bit nervous. Even though I've done it before, I'll do it again. I get nervous, when it comes to be close to time to film, just because it's like a kid before Christmas. I want to film it. I'm really excited and I think it's going to go great. And I'm excited to work with all the people on this upcoming project. And I really think we're going to knock it out of the park. But anyway, Stay tuned. I'll try to keep you up to date with behind the scenes photos and videos. I've been doing prep work on cleaning the house, my house, where we're filming the majority of it. And then I've also been getting equipment ready. So just stay tuned, and thank you so much for watching.